Good evening. How are you? Welcome to Our Front Porch. It's really nice to have you with us on this Sunday evening, and we're here to bring in the holidays and share some time together. And we have a very special guest all the way from the West Coast tonight, two guests, and I am really anxious to have a conversation with them and share it with you. So thank you to those of you that have made a donation to this program. We really appreciate it at this time. I also want to thank our members who are always supporting us, so thank you. Also, the Illinois Arts Council has supported our programming, and again, it helps us during this time when we're trying to come up with new ways. And speaking of new ways, we're having some technical difficulties tonight, so bear with us. Use the comments section to let us know if something is going on that's a problem, but it's a brave new world out here in the world of technology. The good side is we can bring someone from California to our front porch, but the downside is that we may have some problems, so bear with us. So welcome to anybody that's new to our front porch. Our comment section is where we introduce ourselves if you're comfortable, or to make a comment or let us know if you have a question for any of our speakers. So I look forward to hearing from you and having you join the conversation tonight. So how did I find Dave? Well, short little story. He reached out to me looking for some images for a project he was working on. And we got emailing back and forth, and he was telling me about what he was doing with the Illinois song. And I thought, this is really interesting, and I'd like to share it with our community here in the Midwest. So he was gracious enough to agree to do a program with us, and that's what we're going to do tonight. So he's also brought with him an editor that has worked with him on this project, Stephen Myers. So you get two for the price of one tonight. So why don't I bring them in and we can start our conversation. And again, bear with us with some of the technical difficulties. All right, let's see. Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Hi, fine. How are you tonight?
We're good. So welcome to Our Front Porch. And could you bring us some of that sunshine from California, please? It's like cold here. So we're sorry you're all in lockdown too. Are you guys hanging in there out there?
Yep.
Can we hear you, Dave? Are you still working? Oh, he's working on his mic, so we'll let him do that. Okay. So Dave, are you ready to talk, or I talked to Stephen for a while?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back.
Okay.
All right, it's working.
We're working on it, right? So Dave, you grew up in Macomb, right? Your parents were from the
Yes,
region,
I did.
and that's kind of, maybe we should start there. Tell us a little bit about growing up in McDonough County.
Well, both of my parents were from the area. My mother grew up in Augusta. My dad was from by Pava. They actually met at WIU and got engaged there. My dad graduated in 1952 and then went to Northwestern Dental School. The Air Force put him through, and they went to Philippines for a couple of years. My brother Dave, Kevin was born there, and they came back into Macomb '57, and I was born 25 years later. But no, 1957. So I was there. I graduated in '75, and I was there for my first year. I went to Western, and then I transferred Berklee Music School in Boston. So that's how I
heard in the 70s the music scene here was pretty active, pretty crazy, good, excellent professors, students playing live in town. Is that your recollection as well?
Well, I was too young to get into really most of the clubs. I had just turned 19 when I left to go to Boston. And at that time, the liquor, it was 19 for beer and wine and 21 for alcohol. So I couldn't get into really most of the clubs. But I was lucky, but there were a lot of places that they were playing all over the time. There was a place called the King's Castle. Gin Mill's been there forever. The Old Pace was there. The place called, what's that place in Industry? There's several places. A lot of bands though were from around and a place called TC's Lounge. A lot of great bands came down from Chicago, but I just started a band my senior year and was feeling that stuff out because I was a trombone player and I always played a little bit of piano on my own, but I was just beginning to learn. So I went to Boston before I really got into the band scene here. But I would sneak in to see some things. And, when I was 15, I had my first gig at the American Legion, Bob Boyd's orchestra from Rushville. Got John Schlabach and I in. So that was kind of a big deal. We got to wear a suit and you could smell beer and cigarettes. And we were out late.
So some good memories from Macomb, right?
Yeah. There was a big music store, and a lot of at the time they had there was probably 12,000 students at that time, so those dorms were packed, and we had a community band that Bill. The trumpet player, Bill. It's escaping right now, but he ran the union. We had a community band, and we played on Wednesday night. We got paid $25. That's big money for 1976 for a 2-hour concert playing marches mostly. So I'm not trying to start a row there in Macomb with the community band, but I mean, those were. And I didn't appreciate the union then, really, because I was just happy to be doing anything to be making money. But unions are a good thing.
Yeah. So just to bring that forward, you ended up in Boston and you got into composing. So you kind of made a shift between more performance-based into composing.
Well,
is that right?
Like at the time in the Midwest, you start out with piano lessons. I did until I was probably 4th grade. And that's the time the band starts in Macomb, and everybody gets an instrument or wants to play. And my mic is muted.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I can hear you, Dave.
Okay.
You're good. I just gave you the screen.
So I forgot what I was saying. I thought I saw mic is muted.
Going from performance to composing.
Well, I'd always written, but I got the trombone handed to me in 4th grade. I really wanted to play the trumpet or the drums. But when I walked into the old Macomb High School gym and Bob Schlabach was there, he goes, "This guy's clipboard. He's got all these music stand with all these mouthpieces on it." He goes, "What do you want to play?" I said, "Trumpet." And I knew his son played it already. And he goes, "Well, we got too many trained trumpet players." And I'm like, "Well, I want to be a drummer." And he goes, "We got a lot of drummers." And he goes, "Blow into this." Puts a sax mic in my mouth, nuts, and he blows into this. He puts a thing, blow into this. That's good. And he goes, "Here you go." So I played the trombone, and I got into it, through high school, but I always would play piano when I came home to kind of relax and unwind, and I guess not really realizing I was training my ear. And then towards my senior year, I wanted to play, like Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and all the regular top 40 stuff. And so and the only way for me to do that, because we had those records, so I would have to put them down with the needle and music paper and play it, and then pick the needle up and write it down and play it. But that way I'd get the sax parts, the trumpet parts, or but eventually you're training your ear because you're thinking about sections and what range. So the trombone, a lot of great arrangers and orchestrators were former trombone players like Sammy Nestico, Nelson Riddle. There's Bruce Fowler he's an orchestrator out here in LA. Because you spend a lot of time in the trauma section. A lot of they call us the janitors of the orchestra, but so you listen a lot, and it got me to thinking about ranges and the colors. And so by the time I got to Berklee, the first year there is heavily geared. At the time I was there was jazz, but it was heavily ear training. sight reading, but also they would do things like put down like a Phil Woods solo and play the first 4 bars and say, write that, and just play it once and then say, okay, write it out, so,
Wow.
or listen to a song once and say, and I still do this when I'm learning pop songs, is in one pass, I write the form of the song. So you play it, you want 4 bars intro, okay, 1 verse, 2nd verse, okay, then it does a 4-bar interlude, okay, verse 3, so you kind of you learn to how the section go together. It's weird because I'm hearing an echo, so I feel like I have a speech impediment.
So
Who's laughing? I think I should see every face that's here. They're hiding out there.
Craziness, right? So, how did you guys meet? So let's bring Stephen into the conversation here. So you ended up out in LA, I'm assuming, and how did you guys meet?
We just met.
Yeah, it was actually through, just a few minutes ago. No, actually, this is the first time I've seen him without a mask. And the first time he'd seen me without a mask.
That's right.
But actually, we had some mutual acquaintances in the film world. Music editors and picture editors are very closely allied. I had one of my oldest friends out here is a music editor, working music editor, and I think Dave got my name from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had asked. He's a really good Craig. He's a really good editor, and he I was looking for somebody that did documentary stuff, and he recommended Stephen and a couple other people. And I was in a jam. He's really helped me out a lot because I had another editor from a series I worked on that was going to help it with me, but he ended up unfortunately having a death in the family just recently, so he had to bow out. But Stephen has done a great job.
Oh, thank you.
As a pleasure.
Still working on it. It's working.
Yeah, we're still working on it. It was, but it's partly still working on it because it's, it's a lot because you have to put together a puzzle, and when I found when I was collecting images and footages that you end up with a huge vat, and you really have to stay focused on what it is, the direction. Because it's easy to put in too much stuff, and even stuff now I feel like maybe there's one or too many, and I might have to pull out, and it's just a feel thing. But it's a great job on the first pass. So we don't have much to do.
Just to let people know what's involved here, Dave has recorded himself playing piano and his friend playing sax, the Indiana song. And he's put together a bunch of film clips and stills that are sort of the history of the area to go along with it. And so that's the puzzle we're putting together.
But obviously we have, I'm going to be doing a record, so I have 10 to do. So this is just one video. They're not all going to be everything Illinois, but there will be it's kind of a theme, and it will be part of it. So it's because the one thing is, it's 4 minutes and 20 seconds long, so you can't dump all of Illinois history into that. So you kind of have to spread it out.
So your goal was to touch on the history component. I mean, the state song. Part
of it came as I hadn't really done anything recorded in a while, and with the COVID and everything, it's hard for people to get together. So I thought, well, I wanted to keep it simple, and I wanted to do duet. And I hadn't done really much anything, in way of like, I've come back to Macomb ruins and things like that, but I obviously have still roots there. I mean, my parents are both buried there. I still have family in the area, and though I've been gone 40 years, and believe me, when I was young, when I first left, you just can't. I couldn't wait to get away, and even though I had a chance to come back in a few years and go to Chicago and write jingles, I was like, man, I just want to go back to Illinois again. And but as the older I've gotten, the more I appreciated Illinois, and living in Boston, LA for years. And when I go back, even though it's not always the same and it's a little bittersweet for me, it's still home for me. And there's a lot there the same. And I find it just being there just relaxes me. It takes 8 minutes to get through town. You can drive, nice and neat. People wave, and it's a refreshing, invigorating thing. And it's been such a tough year with COVID and with everything that's going on with the racial issues, and I have a really strong feelings about education. And I thought, how could I give back in a way that would, be a tribute to friends, family, whatever, Macomb, but also in a way that's hopefully educational, because certainly there's a lot of great Black history that's been overlooked. It's not even, I bet most people aren't aware of. I wasn't even. A lot of this is geared towards, obviously, Steve Vivian, which will be in here, but he's just one person. He got a lot of the recognition, but there's a lot of heroes that we didn't know about, and growing up we didn't learn about, and it wasn't necessarily because it was intentional. Because the thing that grows about Macomb is, like, I grew up on Randolph Street my first 12 years, and I went to Logan, which was like probably 98% white, and we had, of course, one Asian family in town that had the Chinese restaurant, but when you're a little kid, I didn't even mingle with kids that were like at Grant School that much, or say Wilson or MacArthur, or certainly Lincoln, because you kind of are in your own areas, unless you get involved in community things like sports or other events. Like, you don't even meet some kids. Like, I didn't meet Carl Thorpe until I was in 7th grade, and so it's like, and there's like a social conditioning that happens that I certainly felt, was made aware of it in my own family when I was probably 12, 13, 14. But you can see as I've gotten older, I always thought I was pretty hip to everything. But when I had to go to Boston to learn the term that "Jew them down" was not a verb, or that I would tell edgy Black jokes because I played in a funk band and wore a fedora and a big blue jacket, and I was the only white guy in Dorchester with him. I would tell them these edgy jokes because I'm like George Carlin or Richard Pryor, but and they would laugh. But underneath, I could see they weren't sure at first. Mm-hmm. And then they laugh, and then I'm like, and it took me another 20, 30 years before I figured out, I think on a little level I hurt their feelings, and if I could apologize to Walter, I would, the leader of that band, and that's what I think, a lot of white privilege that I was born with, because you're just oblivious to a lot of things that we take for granted. I'm not trying to turn this into a big political thing, but it did have a motivation in this. So.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. Should we try to play it? I had a little difficulty before, but should we give it a go?
See if the number one goes.
The number one? All right. Let's hang in there, all. Let's see if I can.
I can do it.
All right. Let's see. So are we seeing the folders at least?
Should look like a little clipboard.
All right, here we go.
Say Illinois demo 1.
Yeah, I don't know where to. Yeah, I'm on. Can you see my screen at all? Okay. If I can just get it to play. I'm scratching my head.
Let me see if I can do it.
All right. It's funny because I've done this. We played whole movies before. Sorry, let me try one more way. Hang in there.
I think I've got it going.
You got it going?
Can you see it? Can you see that? No.
No.
Do I have to share it?
Yeah, there's a share screen feature on the bottom.
Where is that?
Will it let you do it?
Share.
You see the share screen thing?
It should be on the bottom of your Zoom.
Oh, we
screen.
love technology.
We're really prepared.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I've tried this, and then it's just I don't know whether
Are you
the
able-
internet gets crazy. Let me try one more time.
Be able to. Let me
All
see if
right.
I can.
There it is. Share this. Share. Come on. Can you guys see my Drive folder desktop at least?
I
Is that
do.
working?
I do.
I do see that.
Okay. So when I press it,
You have to hit the arrow, double click on that. There you go.
and it's a touch screen,
Ah,
so
there
it
we go.
usually
Let's-
works.
There, now it's
looks
going.
like it's working.
Welcome to Hollywood.
All
There you go.
right, come on. All right. You guys tell me if the audio is coming through too, please. Ah! Let's try that again. I just don't know where the gremlins are. Like some days it works, and then some days it does this.
Well,
so we apologize for
that's also a thing with the Zoom, is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But we're not on Zoom, I realize.
All right.
Yeah. I think it's just the internet gets so overloaded and
That's
doesn't want to
definitely true. That's definitely true.
And I came up here to the museum because we have like the 5G stuff up here on the square, but it doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. So
We'll try the other clip. It's shorter, number 2. See if that does.
Okay, let's stop that.
Maybe it's too big for it.
And we'll go back. Okay, let's try this one. All right, I think I have to go back and share it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, audience, being so patient with us. Let's try this again. And let's see.
There you go. That might.
I don't know. Orrin Kimler's garage. Do you remember those like concrete letters that he had that he put like marbles in that were on top of the building? Not this building, the other building he had. Do you remember that at all, Dave?
Mm-mm.
No? They were crazy.
Actually, I don't remember quite where the station was at. Was it on Jackson or Lafayette?
This one I think was north of the tracks, and then he moved out onto West Jackson by the Dairy Queen.
There you go.
Ah! It's just
It's taking long to wind up. If you downloaded it, it would be better.
yeah, to load. Look at that car.
That might be it.
That's it.
The other one's 2 minutes, but it could just take a long time to load. But
Yeah, okay. All right, do you want to talk a little bit about that? And so maybe, Stephen, it might be interesting as you're coming from as an outsider looking at all this information and trying to kind of construct a story. How do you approach something like that?
Well, it's interesting because when I started out, I didn't have a lot of direction from Dave. I was just taking the information that I had, the stills that I had, sort of the chronology. So I think I laid out maybe about a minute worth of material, but after that I was kind of lost. But Dave had a sort of a general plan for how it should be laid out, a map, so to speak. But then he became very specific, and that was really helpful for me. I didn't know the history. And I come from Northwest Georgia. I come from a town called Rome, which is between Atlanta and Chattanooga. So I was familiar with my own history through the civil rights era, which was quite
he has quite a story,
quite rich. But I had never heard of CT, but I knew who John Lewis was from Georgia. So when I found out that these two guys were closely allied and good friends, then that connected for me. But on every documentary project I work on, and I've worked on some feature-length ones. I did the Pixar story about Pixar. I learned so much. I learned so much about history. I learned about technology. It's always an enriching experience for me, and I'm learning through this, and I'm enjoying the music. I mean, when Dave first sent me the music, I just started playing it on my iPhone, and my wife said, "That's beautiful. What is that?" And I told her, "Well, that's the project I'm going to be working on." She said, "Oh, that's great." So I've been enjoying it all along. I love the music. I love Dave's playing, and I love the saxophone. It's really fun. I've always loved working with musical projects anyway, and cutting with music. It's very emotional.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the 1-2 punch, isn't it? Like in terms of the educational mission that you both are talking about, right? It's just the impactfulness. It gets you intellectually and emotionally, at least for me.
Right. And this isn't educational in the sense of we're going to teach you something. Here's a lesson. A lot of it is just feelings. It's impressions.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn a lot from that.
Yes. And the visual, I think, again, it's the all of the senses, right? That kind of are built in.
Absolutely.
I had hoped before the COVID stuff really hit, I worked on the census, and I was going to take off on a road trip and try to get more video footage myself, and also audio. In fact, I'm going to do that guy. It's over here. But I wasn't able to do it. So I had to do a lot more research on photos that are online, which actually brought me to you, so that I could, get the photos from the museum and look around and other footages. But I have to say, but one of the biggest books that helped me is this book right here, which which actually written by a WU professor by the name of Felix Armfeld. Field. I don't know if any of you remember him. I believe he was there around 2000s, early 2000s, and it's called Black Life in West Central Illinois. The preface was written by C.T. Vivian, and it's just a great historical book that goes way back, that tells. I haven't even really begun to skim a lot of it, but I can see that there's so much rich history here, and I can't recommend. It should really be part of the curriculum in Macomb and other schools, because there's a whole history there. West Central Illinois, and Richard Pryor, who came out of this. He was born there in Peoria, came up out of the scene there, and it's there's a lot to be said that's happening in the area of West Central Illinois that a lot of people miss, and keep cultures blending together, So it's always good. I think
in the last couple of years, the library at the high school now is named in his honor, and he was able to visit and see that. And then recently, the historic his home place where he grew up is now a historic site, which is a wonderful project that happened this year. The other thing, for those of you that are interested in oral histories, on the Library of Congress website, there is, I think it's almost a couple hours long, but a really lovely oral history with C.T. Vivian. It's totally worth taking the time and going through. And you just search for C.T. Vivian on Library of Congress and you'll find it. So that's another source for everybody out there to learn more about his life and work. So, I think for me, what everybody's doing, right? Music, historic sites, all these things sort of play into sort of shifting our cultural thinking, and helping us understand, all the voices that kind of make our community and our country amazingly interesting, right?
Well, people talk about the turmoil in 1970s or so, but that was a time of actually renaissanceal change in Macomb. They had the what they called the Black House down there on which they had the African American Studies Department, which started there. I believe Gil Bell started that, and then I can't remember, but it took off from there. So there was a lot of bands came in from other cities for the parades, and the Vietnam vets had a place out by the St. Francis Hospital, and they would have big parties. They were so active in the community in terms of all over the kind of stuff that is so helpful to people. And the parades, they would get dressed up as these peach blossoms, like girls in skirts with plungers and wigs. It was pretty ugly, but they were great, right. and there was, I don't know, there was just it was a time, there was a lot of stuff and hope going on. And it'd be great to get back to that. I mean, it all wasn't pretty, obviously, but it'd be great to get. And I think Macomb can do that. I mean, it's come a lot of ways. I mean, I left before the theater and the pool opened after me. And when I see what they've been able to do with those programs, from where I was on the first swim team, and I wouldn't even be in the slow lane, So, it's.
Well, I think, also I should offer to you both, we recorded an oral history with a gentleman named Jim Johnson, who was the first director of the Black House, which became the Gwendolyn Brooks Center. Right. And I had the opportunity to sit down with him on 2 occasions. And, again, each time you hear these personal recollections, you really get a better grasp of what was going on. He really kind of got into the distinction between Malcolm X and Martin Luther. It was just like really... you could see him struggling with those 2 positions within the movement, and how where he was gonna kind of put his energy. And he also made these inroads with Gwendolyn Brooks and brought her down here, which she did a whole poetry thing with the high school students. I don't know if you probably were gone maybe by then, but impacted a lot of young students here as well, with her poetry and teaching children how to express themselves through poetry. So you're right, there's such a rich history here, and I'm really happy to see you kind of delve into this a little bit, and I'm eager to see what else you can come up with.
Kind of opened up more, because it is evolving, even the video, and part of the delays on because I had a big map taped out, and I had these 8mm clips, and I said, okay, I want this here, and here, and I said, I think I want 40s here, 60, and so. Throw them in, but I could see where you have to have kind of a little map, because it forces you to like narrow down and think about how you want to put it together. It's a different way of composing, but it's great to have a picture eye, and I can see, where it helps move it along a lot better. And I feel so bad because I just kind of dumped him on him, and I'm like, I'm like, there are a lot of pictures and footage. He's probably like going, what am I doing?
Well, the great thing though is that it's always better to have too much material than not enough.
Yeah, that's right. So.
Yeah. Should we try to play the other half again? Let me try one more time. You guys can keep talking while I poke away at the computer. Sure. How's that?
I can play if you want.
Why don't you play, Dave?
All right.
That'd be great.
Why don't I play this?
Forget the streaming
song
stuff.
Called "Brighter Days." I was going to post lyrics. I'm not going to sing it, but I'm looking for a singer. But it's it's appropriate for the times. And I'm actually going to record this piece with a vocal. It'll be on this record down the road. And most of these are going to be pretty small instrumentations, all of them. I mean, I think the next one might be guitar, sax, and vocals and myself. But it's not going to be more than 2 or 3 at all the tracks. But this one I want to do, there's a piano player by the name of John Phillips that you guys should do a show with by yourself. John Phillips is still alive. He's 90 and he's cooking. And he is the best jazz piano player in the entire Central Illinois still. And he lives in Washington. And I know my first gig with him in trombone when I was a freshman. And the guy's flown to New York. He's played with Benny Goodman. He's done all these things. He played in DC, Chicago. He played all the clubs in Peoria, Havana in the late 40s, 50s, all those places. And then he fell in love with a woman from Havana.
As people do.
As people do. So he moves down here and he does a lot of gigs, but he also starts tuning everybody's piano. So he was well known to Havana, Fulton County, McDonough County. He tuned everybody's pianos. But the guy could play Stella by Starlight in 2 keys at the same time. No problem. He's crazy. But, he's...
All right, we'll find him.
He's a great guy. But the point is, I'm going to have him record the piano part for the vocal. Because I've never gotten to record anything with him, and I want to do it with him. But I'll play it.
Okay.
So I'm going to mute while I'm doing this. grab a partner.
Whoops, that was a bad one.
Very nice, Dave.
Lovely. That was just lovely.
Thank God you could hear it. I was afraid you're going to get to the end of it and say, we couldn't hear a thing.
No, we would have yelled.
What's the title again, Dave?
That's called Brighter Days.
Oh, cool.
So it's really appropriate for 2020 and 2021.
Right.
This headphone thing. Let me get that on. So I hope
the
you get a
Illinois
vocal for that.
song.
Did you get it working?
Nope. I'm
That's the way it
sorry.
goes.
I'm a failure.
No, you're not a failure.
We got to just hear you, and so let's talk about. We were talking about this earlier. This Illinois song is written by Johnston, late 1800s. He sets words to "Baby of Mine." So you're kind of adding to that lineage of shaking it up a little bit and changing up a tune.
Yeah.
But if you go online and you put an Illinois song, you see like anything from marching band, that kind of bravo. What made you think you wanted to change?
Well, the one that I grew up with was more like a folk song, and it was the state song, "By thy rivers gently flowing, Illinois, Illinois." That's all I remember. But that, they get all the kids in high school, and they sing it, and I just thought I wanted to do it. I thought it was a pretty melody, but I wanted to do something that's kind of my own style. The songs and music I'm working on are a little more Americana-ish, jazzy. I don't know how to quite put them, popish. So this kind of lent itself to that. It's what I came up with. And then I knew I wanted to do something with Mark. He grew up in Rockford, and we met in 1974 at the WHS camp in the summer. And Phil Wilson was from Boston, and Berklee was the guest. I think John Phillips also came in and played at the time. Bob Morsch was the director of the jazz at Western, and he ran the camp. And so Mark, I didn't know him, but he was by far the best soloist in the entire band. And I couldn't believe somebody his age played that good. And then I never saw him again till fast forward about 6 years later. We ran into each other in Boston, Berklee. He was playing in a funk band, and they needed a trombone player. So we were in the horn section together. And then we played for about a year, and then he moved back to Chicago area, and then eventually he ended up in New York. He did a lot of records like smooth jazz stuff in the late 90s, early 2000s, a big session player. And then he moved. He now lives in Aspen he teaches out there and gigs all the time, records, and I never recorded anything from him. So it's easy to do with COVID and internet. So he really came through, and so I thought I want to do something else with him. And so there will be a cousin version, a vocal version of this song that I hope to bring in a singer to. I have in mind, but I have other things that I want to do first. But the lyrics, yes. The lyrics came 40 years after the song. The melody was written in 1870 by, I think it's Nathaniel Archibald.
Archibald Johnston.
Archibald Johnson. That's it. She has them all right there.
I'm the history, and I got notes. I'm cheating.
She's got the prayer, and then the Chamberlain guy. He came
Know it
on.
all.
He came on with the lyrics in like 1898, where they were doing a lot of Civil War, obviously memorial and remembrances and tributes. So a lot of the lyrics, while they have the rolling hills and valleys of Illinois, there's also a lot of Grant Ligon, the Civil War kind of stuff. I probably will keep all of it, but I might shift some things around, but it won't be a Weird Al Yankovic. So, but it does. A couple lines could be updated.
Right. Well, I'm going to interject a little women's history here. It was designated as the state song by the first female senator in Illinois in look at my notes here, 25. And her name was Florence Pfeiffer Bohern. And so there's a little tangent too on the side there.
Wow.
Women are taking the lead and getting some beautiful music out there, right?
Was that a state senator or a U.S. senator?
State senator.
Wow.
So she proposed the song to be the state song. So we have some recollections coming in from the virtual world. So Brenda Sayer says that she learned the song in the 1950s at Logan School, and they sang it to the parents at a school presentation, and she says it was really hard to sing. And
I can never remember the words. I don't think there's like, I thought there was more verses, but when you look on the internet, it's not that much. But
I won't sing, don't worry.
Cannonballs.
They sang it at Illinois Girls State. So Annette's saying that they sang it then. So I don't remember.
This is a little more contemporary, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we digressed a little bit there.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
So since I've failed you all, where can people hear this song? Bandcamp?
Well, right now it's on Bandcamp. You can go to my Facebook page. It's on Spotify. It's on CBAB. All those. It's available. Bandcamp page, and I don't know. I think it's there. Actually, you might be able to play it. You might be able to play it in the list.
All right.
Or if you want to play something else.
That's while I'm doing this. The piano. Gus back there.
Oh, you want to play?
No, tell us about him. How'd you get him?
Well, I have a friend, Roger Ballinger. He was a French horn player for 20 years in the Army. And he also plays the theremin, which I don't know if many people know is the instrument you would hear in the 50s, it's actually just a sine wave, but you control the pitch off a machine by where you hold your hands, so you have to play it in the air. And they have electric ones now. Then they have the real deal electric. It looks like a sewing box on high legs. And you tune it, and then you do the vibrato. And he plays it really great. And I've recorded with him some stuff, but he was a piano tuner. Also, his father was a piano tuner. And he came to me one day, and I had in my studio, I was working on a score for Disney at the time. And he goes, do I have this piano in storage, and I have to get rid of it right now, and I don't have a place in my apartment. And he lived on the second floor. And this is an 1893 Steinway, and it weighs a lot. And I mean, a lot. And it took 6 of us to roll it into my place. I had a first floor apartment, so I was an ideal candidate. I thought I was going to keep it for like a month or two. And I started playing, and he and his father had done a lot of work on it, redoing a lot of the keys and the action on it and some strings inside. And I started playing it. I hadn't had a piano since I lived at home other than a synth one. So it was after about a year, he was getting moved out. He's like, I I don't really want the piano. You just want to keep it. And I'm like, okay. By that time, I had like a clock up there and a whole bunch of stuff. And even though it was really out of tune and a lot of dust, and at that time, my daughter was like 5, so it had a lot more silly string all over this thing, all over Gus. And there's still some remnants. But yeah, I kept the piano. And so I pounded on it for years. And I just had some work done on it, and it needs some more work. One of my sustain pedals a little, like a lot of people that are 127 years old, you're never sure what you're going to get every day. But I think he has it's rare that you get a piano with this type of fat a sound. It's got a nice dark tone, but if you listen to like how most bass piano, you don't get that kind of round thing. Like,
a lot of undertones there. Yeah.
If you go over to my friend Spin It, it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
So that's what's called nasty. But this guy.
That's a fat sound there.
He has a fat sound, and Roger tells me it's going to be like 6,000 or 7,000 to really do it. So I don't know how loaded you people are out there, but if you got some extra employment cash, I don't know about.
Wait, I need a new computer to stream this stuff. If we're fundraising here.
Here, let me get a little. So I can use some dough. So,
all right. Well,
Gus
let me see if I can. Let me try one more time to see if I could get it through playing. What are we on? Playing like Z now to get this to work, but let's try it.
Well, we will get on it. It'll probably be a couple of days before we actually have it done. So.
All right. Well, no, this is just the song, so maybe we could at least get the audio, right?
Go. Oh yeah.
There we go.
Lovely. Well, at least we got to hear it. What else do you want to tell us about making that?
Well, it was very fulfilling for me. I was in an apartment for 20 years, a rent-controlled apartment in Northridge, and even before COVID, the cost of living in LA is just through the roof. And so, a lot of things get shuffled around, and I ended up leaving there. And my friend needed some help out, so I came to his place in Woodland Hills, and I've known Nat, my friend. He's worked for JBL for over 30 years. And I moved in here, so I didn't really have my studio set up. It's in another room outside, and it is getting set up. But the one that I would score on, and I used to do music editing on. But I haven't done a lot the last few years. I was mostly working nonprofit and campaigns and whatnot. So this kind of thing got me back into music. The last couple of years, I started playing in bands again, and mainly blues and classic hits, and I started going out to hear some live music. And there's a couple of places in town here called Ireland's 32. If you ever get into Sherman Oaks, California, you have to go there when COVID is up. There's great bands that come in there, and I started going there, and I would hear bands, and it just really got my juices going again. And so I didn't have a way to record So for this particular project, which I bought this Tascam field recorder. It's a digital field recorder, has 4 microphones in it. You can also plug in your own if you want in the back. It records in high, 48K, 196, MP3, you can convert it. So I recorded my piano part for Illinois song just by putting it right there. And I was lucky. It did not happen in the first take. I will say it took me 20, but I only had to make one little edit out of a 4-minute 20 piece. So I was pretty happy with that. So my piano playing has come along in the last couple of years. So, and then the way it is, I sent these to my mixer friend. I sent these tracks to Mark with a part, which I have here.
So you had written the chart for him.
Yeah, I'd written a chart for him. There's some of my notes, and and by the time I gave him the notes and a second pass with more notes, whatnot, he nailed it, and it was great.
I imagine he added a little to it, didn't he?
He did. The first performance, he did it before I'd even given him direction like you. And so I sent it back with just the melody playing. And it had a nice delay on it, but it was just the melody, which was nice, but all the way through. And I had envisioned this, I want this here, and then on the second time, this got to go here, and then this got to kind of happen here, and the energy's got to go down here. And so that's what you have to do at the outset with this COVID thing, and everything when you're doing remote. You have to give more explicit notes up front, and that's the way. Once I started doing that with Stephen and Mark, he said, "Shoot, we're off to the races." So this communication is a good thing, but it's amazing. This is $300, and so it's amazing you can make it happen.
Yeah, so we've learned a lot in some ways, right? But I'm probably a lot of musicians and film people are struggling out there, I'm assuming. But
Sure,
the Outgrowth would be sort of very interesting creative projects that we've always put on the shelf and, we'll get to it sometime, right? And so we're actually getting a chance to do those. So you're talking about doing some more work together, the two of you and other musicians. What's on the agenda?
Well, I have a piece of Danny Boy that I've written, and I'm not sure. I'm going to have that ready for President's Day, I think, in February, that video. But the recording going out sooner. I'm not sure if that's going to be just Mark and I, or maybe a vocal with it, or it's kind of evolving. But And then I do want to do Brighter Days, and I have actually I have a little version of Christmas song if you want to hear it.
Sure.
I haven't laid it down yet, just since it's a holiday, but it is a Christmas song. If you want to hear it,
Yeah.
Okay, let me mute.
Very nice, Dave.
Lovely. Perfect Sunday evening.
Does that work?
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I'm all mellow and happy now.
That's the idea.
Well, thank you.
That will
I
be
put
a
it-
vocal with a sax, guitar.
Oh, that would be lovely. So I put your Facebook page and your Bandcamp link in the comments so people can find you and stay up to speed with what you're doing. Stephen, should I put your website in there? Do you have a Facebook page too, or?
I'm not very active on Facebook, to be honest, but I do have a website. It's called moviemaximus.com, but that's really for people who want to know a little bit about my biography and also reviews of some movies that I like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He also has a great view from his front porch.
Well, next time we're coming to your place.
I can, if I go out to the sidewalk, I can see Universal City.
Wow.
He's in Burbank.
Nice.
I'm at the other end of the valley in Woodland Hills.
Well, all our corn is down, so that's what's going on here. So
All our what?
corn, the corn's down.
Don't get me
Harvest
started.
is in. But
I used to have
lots
to get
of,
up for swim workouts at 6:30 in the morning at the lab school pool. We didn't have a pool at the high school, so I lived on Versailles by the high school. So I had to get up at 6 to get to the car to drive to the lab school. So when it was 10 below, no turning your car on from inside, and you had to psych up and then run out if you woke up. And then sit in the car, the vinyl, corn on, no corn.
well, this has just been really lovely, gentlemen. And I really appreciate you spending some time on our front porch with us. And
I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I don't know how many came, but it's great.
I'll share one comment here from Annette. Let's see, is it going to come up there? Where'd it go?
Yes. Hi, Annette.
Lots of applause.
Thank you.
So thank you, all of you online, for your patience with us. And we'll just have to figure out how to do this again. Get a better computer, and we'll get the final version when you guys got it all worked out. And I'd love to have you
download clips might be lucky.
Yeah, there's always more to do, right?
Lots of tech. I'm still hearing delay here.
Yeah. So, well, thank you both. Any other final thoughts or questions?
I just want to thank you for letting me, Steve and I, show this show. There's a lot of things going on. People have things to do, and it's a very difficult time. And really, I was hoping this song would provide people with comfort and soothing, and people tell me it's relaxing and it feels Illinois-ish. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope it helps.
Indeed, it does. Thank you both, and I guess we'll sign off. Well, that's a perfect way to end it. Good night, everyone. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.